Hello, wild ones. Lauren Wild here, the Church Witch. We're going to drop real fast into our Astroforecast for the week of July the 27th through August the 3rd. I hope you guys are doing okay this Monday. This Monday kind of like kicked off with a bang, to be honest. Today is the 27th, and it's not like a big day. It's just that there's a lot of things like coming into exaction this morning. So let's go ahead and talk about that because it's kind of like bleeding into the entire week just about. And most of them started on Saturday of this past weekend, but will pull all the way through the rest of the week because they are like slower moving planets. So they essentially don't move super, super fast. So essentially, the main thing I would say this week is understanding that this week is going to feel a lot like fog, like dense fog, and then like boom, like the fog got lifted off, like the veil got removed. Okay, so Mercury is officially out of its retro shade, meaning that we are now moving to like the future again. You know, we feel like we are in present time. We're not looking back on old nostalgic memories. So much so, although this week has a lot of Venus, which is all about love and relationships, and then Neptune, which is like your sappy, nostalgic, looking back to the past. So some people are going to feel a lot of clarity in their minds, but you might not feel like you're completely out of the past yet. So let's go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about that. However, the Venus retrograde will be over on the 29th, which I believe that's Thursday. I think it's Thursday, the 29th. So, you know, what happens in those retrograde periods is essentially the planets are going over the degrees in which it retrograded. And so you get like a couple of opportunities to go over it, right? So when the planet officially moved into that sign, you know, months ago, these are some of the themes that could have been brought up. And then as the planet stations retrograde, it goes over those degrees again, but it takes you back into a review period. Okay, so it brings the energy internal. It becomes much more contemplative. And it is much more something in you that's changing, something perceptionary, cellular even, versus when the planets are direct. It's like you are externalize your energy out into the world and you are changing or impacting the world around you. When the planets are retrograde, it is more of like what's happening within yourself. Okay. Now, when the planets go direct, hopefully, hi, Karasu the Dreamer. Hopefully that helps you understand. When the planet retrogrades, it just takes you back. And all a retrograde is meant to do is to help you review and rethink. All right. So you don't make like major new life choices during retrogrades if you can. You're essentially contemplating the choices you've already brought up. All right. And then you get very clear. And then once you get to the retrograde, which is where we are right now, the planets go over those degrees again. So the third time's charm, right? This is where you get to make those choices. You get the review energy as well as you get like your checkpoint. So it's like you might understand that you're like going through the same challenges that you did 3 months ago and then a month and a half ago and now. And essentially it is all about deciding, do you really want this, right? You're working the bugs out. Do you really want this? And so where we're at today is the fact that we have our first quarter moon in Scorpio. So the moon moved into Scorpio a little past midnight last night, Eastern Standard Time. And then around 8:30 a.m. this morning, the moon came into her first quarter at 4 degrees of Scorpio, right? So we can look back to the full moon. We had a super full moon in Scorpio on May 7th of this year. That's when things were getting pretty amped about coronavirus pandemic world. So it's just a checkpoint. It's a quarter check-in of like, you know, basically like what was going on there and are you still working towards it? What are you working towards? So, you know, this is definitely a time period of transformation, heavy transformation, because this is Scorpio, which mantra is I transform. Its ruler is Scorpio, which means, its ruler is Pluto, which is always requires some sort of death. Okay. There's like the death of one thing to create the birth of another. And so you might realize that there is a need to let go of some things to make room for the new things coming through. All right. Now, the other thing I will tell you is that Mars, which is in Aries, I think it's about 15 to 16 degrees of Aries, is now moving into its own shadow period. All right. So when, like I was explaining previously, the shadow period is like a certain amount of time that you have that like the planet has started to slow down. All right. Now Mars has not stationed, or been in one sign for 6 months in like 32 years. And it happens to be in the sign of Aries, which is the sign of the warrior. It's also very independent. It's also where Chiron is as well. Now, luckily, it's not going to retrograde all the way back and hit Chiron, but it is, because it's going to station at 25 degrees in September. But we are already in the retro, the shadow period of it. Okay. So the shadow period is so powerful because you can start to notice themes of what's going to be coming up for you during that period of time. All right. So if you notice that your kids are much more aggressive, all of a sudden you might notice that, Aries is like a 5th house or 11th house energy for you, or even 4th house of home. So you want to kind of look at your natal chart and understand that wherever that's going down is where you're going to have a lot of extra energy. There's going to be a lot more conflict than usual. And you're going to definitely feel like hot. Like I can only share my own chart unless people give me their charts to share. But essentially the house in which it's in tells you a lot about what's going on. I see someone asking me where I learned all this. I'm a professional astrologer, so I've spent a lot of time and investment in learning astrology. And I've been an astrologer in most of my lives, or some sort of esoteric person. But thanks for asking. And thanks. I got this shirt at Target, right? It's like got all these crystals on it. Isn't that amazing? For those of you watching and you don't know who I'm talking to, I am on YouTube Live and there's a person talking to me. So I'm just responding back. But okay, so let's go ahead and kind of drop into some of the other aspects of this week. So people always ask me, like, is astrology, like, is it just divination? And it's like, I mean, it can be, but essentially it's like energetic weather casting. It's like knowing that rain is coming this week, so you better have an umbrella, It's really and truly more about that kind of stuff. So in terms of this coming week, we had the first quarter moon in Scorpio, which is going to cause transformation for the next 2 days. There's going to be some major piece of transformation. Now, the other thing would be that Jupiter is in a sextile to Neptune retrograde, and that's going to go until mid-August. I think it's about August 24th. That's a really nice. The sextiles are really lovely aspects. This is going to create a lot of like a sense of flow and ease, especially around legal matters. So if you've got legal stuff going on, this is a great time period to get it done. And it feels a little less intense, especially before we get to Mars retrograde this fall. Try to get those bigger pieces done. I'm in the middle of a divorce. And so I am like trying to get as much done before that period of time because that's intense. Venus is in a quincunx to Jupiter retrograde. That started on Saturday and it goes until Wednesday. So Jupiter is about like indulgence and adventure and the getting to the bottom of it, the truth of things. However, when Jupiter is retrograde, it's much more conscious. It's much more sober in its choices. And it's very much about getting to the bottom of something, getting to the truth of something. And because it's in a quintile to Venus, it's about relationships or finances. So you might feel an extra sense of like strain around your finances. It's also a time where you could feel a little bit more tense in your relationships. It's really about trying to find the middle way. Like a little dose of charm or diplomacy could go a long way this week. So the other thing would be that today, Venus is in an exact square to Neptune retrograde, which is also all of that relationship stuff. So when I pulled the cards for like, some clarifiers for the week, I got 12th house, which is Neptune. I got Venus, which is, love. And then I got Pluto, transformation. So, I mean, these are definitely the things that I see would be major themes for the week as well. There's always a grief period necessary when something dies. There's also, on the other side of that, is the hope and the optimism of a new future. And so I would really say that trying to direct your energy towards starting over, right? Not directing so much of your fresh, vital energy towards regret, remorse, or looking back. It's really trying to turn your gaze into starting over, because there's just been such major concrete aspects that have happened over the last couple of years, especially when Uranus moved into Taurus, that it's like whatever these major choices are that you have made and are making, like you can't go back. Because of the fact that they are all happening in Earth planets, like Uranus and Taurus is an Earth planet. The confluence in Capricorn is an Earth planet. It is like really and truly concretized because it's in an Earth. And so it's like, don't waste your precious energy, like remorseful about the past. It is now time to like pivot, turn 180 degrees in the other direction. Don't look back. Don't look over your shoulder, and just like start paving the way for your future. Because that's where the energy needs to be going at this point. Okay. On Wednesday, I don't want to forget this. This is important. Also, Mercury is in a square to Mars this week. All right. So Mercury is in Cancer. I believe it's at 15 degrees of Cancer, mid Cancer. It's, like I said, it is past the retro shade. And Mercury in Cancer is like seeking compassion. It is seeking nurturance. It's seeking emotional support, emotional intelligence. And then Mars in Aries is like do it yourself. It's hyper independence. It's also a little aggressive and feisty. So just being mindful with your tone is a big thing with Mercury, because Mercury is communication. So being mindful with your tone. Mercury in Cancer will not handle a sassy tone. I can tell you that right now. It makes me think of like the Bible scripture that's like what is it? I used to quote this to my ex-husband, but it was like a sharp tongue. I can't remember that scripture. It's been too long. I've been out of the church too long. Now I'm gonna have to look that up. Well, I'm going to try to it's 1:11, guys, Eastern Standard Time. Make a wish. It's 1:11. I looked at my phone. Look, boom, 1:11. So let me look this up, because sharp tongue. Sharp tongue. Proverbs 12:18. No, I don't want that. Oh, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. This is also, I mean, there's quite a few things about using your words, but your words are really powerful, and they do have power to bring about life, and they have power to bring about death. Mercury in Cancer is going to care about tonality. I can tell you that. It's going to care about the intention behind your words. I don't know a soft Cancer. Like, I know a lot of people depict Cancer as like, always crying. But that's because Cancer is like the nurturer, it's the mother, and she will just like take everything. She will just take the brunt force of everything to see everyone be well. And then eventually she just gets angry because she's just tired of feeling taken advantage of. That would be the energy of like Mercury in Cancer square Mars. Cancer also has this propensity to like bury everything for like an entire lifetime, or at least 2 years, and basically like throw everything you've ever done wrong at you in your face, and you had no idea you did anything wrong because they were just nurturing you. My mother's Cancer rising, so it's like they love you, but like just give them some respect. Just tell them you love them, tell them you appreciate them. Focus on them for a hot second, because they're always focusing on taking care of you, right? I'm not a Cancer. I've loved many Cancers, and that's my best advice for you. Soft tone, diplomacy, sweetness. All right, so that's like predominance of the earlier part of the week. Now let's get to Thursday. So Wednesday, the moon is going to move into Sagittarius. All right. fire sign. So we will have fire in the moon and our emotions and fire in the sun. And that's going to be a fun day. You know, those couple of days are going to be fun. Thursday, Mercury is going to oppose Jupiter retrograde, and that's going to go from Wednesday to Friday. All right. So Mercury communication, Jupiter in Capricorn is it's like the least fun in Capricorn. You know, it's all about work. This is going to be powerful to get to the bottom of things. Don't overtake projects. All right. Jupiter loves projects. It's like, I can do everything. It's very overindulgent and optimistic. That's me too. And so it's going to challenge you to get clear on what are the projects you actually want to do and which are the ones that you need to release. Mercury is also going to trine Neptune. Okay, so as you can see, there's a lot of Neptune going on this week, which means that it is like all the dreams, all the illusions. However, because Neptune is retrograde, what you might feel like is that what was once this fanciful, beautiful dream, just like you just get like smacked in the face. The wool gets taken off your eyes and illusions are slashed away. And it is very much about those areas of your life that you know, you felt like it was very fanciful. Okay. The point of this is to direct your attention towards the things that are actually worth your time. You know, with the moon in Capricorn and Mercury in a trine to Neptune, this is going to be about the reality of hard work. Okay. It's going to be about, you know, when Neptune is not retrograde, or when Neptune is direct. Like, I love Neptune retrograde. I have Neptune retrograde in my natal chart. And that's because like, I need to see clearly. It creates this sense of clarity, but it can feel very painful. Like there's not like the softness around it. It's just like straight up in your face. So this will be a time period of really directing your attention to, and your heart, like bracing your mind and your heart for like hearing some harsher things, but then also using that additional energy to like, flip it, you know, like how can I make the best of this? Like this is also a really great time to make money. And then on Saturday, Mercury is going to oppose Pluto. So as you can see, Mercury is doing all kinds of work this week. And that's because Mercury is now direct moving through Cancer, and it's going to come into all those oppositions all the way across the axis in Capricorn over the next 2 weeks. And so we are going to have our mental process challenged by, you know, all of the changes that are happening with the Capricorn confluence, which is strongly about what is going on with our economy post-COVID. Well, not even post-COVID, midst COVID is a better word. We are definitely not in after times yet. If anything, we're going to see some things change once Saturn goes direct in September again. But the Mercury is the communication. It's going to bring messages about what that could look like over the next 2 weeks as Mercury comes closer and closer to the opposition of those planets retrograde. Okay. So just, you'll start getting a lot of clarity over the next 2 weeks. Saturday, Mercury opposite Pluto retrograde. This is getting to the bottom of these changes that we're talking about. This is getting to the bottom of some secrets. It's like very deep down in you. Pluto is like your shadow. So this weekend is actually going to be a great time to do shadow work. Which also takes me to the pagan holiday. We have a cross-quarter holiday on Saturday. It's Lammas or Lunicid, which is the first harvest. It's also the first major tick towards the shadow part of the year. And then our next cross-quarter is actually going to be autumn equinox, which is the beginning of Libra season. And it will also be where we move into the actual shadow part of the year. Okay, so Lammas is a time of celebration. It's the first harvest. It is getting a little bit closer to the next turn of the wheel of the year as we move into the darker part of the year. And then on Sunday, Sun in Leo is going to square Uranus at 10 degrees of Taurus. Now, this means that the weekend is going to bring about change. All right, like this weekend is going to bring about change. It's a lot of those concretized changes that we were talking about. When I was saying these are happening in earth signs, it means that the changes that happen, like these are lasting changes. All right. They are not like some new things. Is lasting change. And it's also going to be a nice little pointer at what Uranus stationing retrograde in mid-August is going to look like. All right. So we are working our way towards the full moon in Aquarius. We got another week. It is technically like right before midnight on the 3rd in Aquarius. If you are in the Pacific Standard Time, I think it's around 9:30 p.m. If you're Eastern Standard Time, I think it's literally like 11:59 p.m. But you're going to really feel the push of the full moon on Sunday and Monday. And it will start to wane down by Tuesday. So you definitely want to make sure you get your Lammas ritual in, and you get your full moon, put your crystal babies out, make some lunar water. This would be a really great full moon in Aquarius. It's also going to show us a lot about what the age of Aquarius is going to look like. And it is our check-in from the new moon in Aquarius, which was in January. So what are all the major pieces that have come through with eclipse season and COVID times? Look back at January, mid-January, beginning of February when we had our Aquarius new moon, and tell me what the age of Aquarius looks like for you moving ahead. So, put on the charm this week, y'all. You don't want to like lose yourself in it, but it's like a little extra sweetness will go a long way this week. Use your mind. All right. Your mind is becoming increasingly more clear as Mercury gets more and more direct. And it's important that we move forward with new perceptions, new clarity of mind, but also don't let the mind control you. You control it. That is what the North Node in Gemini is all about for the next 2 years. That is learning mind tricks, right? It is learning awareness. It is learning meditation. It is learning the power of directing your awareness versus your awareness directing you. I came into a very strong realization that has been happening for me over the last couple of months, where I've been pretty heavy in my divorce, where I've been dealing with a lot of fear, which can kind of like numb you from your own awareness, right? Like you just get kind of like thrown in survival mode, and your hormones and your survival mechanisms will kind of take over. And so this is about finding the balance between survival and also awareness. There is nothing more powerful than being able to control your own mind versus your mind controlling you. So Zen Buddhism is a powerful path for that. Svadhyaya in the 8-limb path of yoga, Kriya Yoga, meditation, just trying to slow down your mind, right? It is not about clearing your mind. You can't actually fully clear your mind because we are human, but you can slow it down, right? You can become an observer of your thoughts versus your thoughts controlling you. So that's all I've got for you guys today for Astroforecast. I know that was a good amount. We've got a good amount coming through over the next couple of weeks, again, as Mercury is direct and coming into an opposition with the Capricorn confluence, all retrograde in Capricorn. All right, guys, I'll see you guys next week. Okay, bye.